So we're getting our first look at the Giga Austin Model Y. It wasn't that long ago that we got our first glimpse of a Model Y body showing up at Giga Austin. Now of course Giga Austin is still in construction and there's a lot of work yet to be done. However, early in June we got that first look. So we knew bodies were going, and the assumption at the time was they were getting ready to do some pilot production. Well, back at the beginning of this month, we did get some images of Tesla Model Y bodies that had been primed, set up in a paint booth. In addition, we saw more photos of the cars going through a pilot assembly line. And then just this week, we saw our first glimpse of what is presumably a fully assembled Model Y out of Giga Austin. Now, of course, the components of this car were not likely made at Giga Austin, but those components would have been brought in. We know that the body was shipped in. However, the paint booth would have presumably been used to paint this car on site, and all of the components were shipped in and assembled on site. So what that means is that Model Y that we got a picture of is the first pilot production car out of Giga Austin. This is obviously just progress. This does not mean that they're ready for production at Giga Austin, and there's tons of work yet to do. However, this does mean that they are making tremendous progress, and this is great news. So there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of things that have to be done in order to get any kind of real production out of this facility. Of course, as a reminder, Giga Austin is definitely going to be bringing some changes to the Model Y. The first and most notable change that's going to be coming from the Giga Austin Model Y is the fact that it's going to have a casted front to pair with the already in place casted rear. Now, over time, that's also going to incorporate the new structural battery pack in the Model Y. In the most recent quarter end results, Elon Musk did state that they had a contingency plan in place that would allow them to assemble Model Ys at both Giga Austin and Giga Berlin. That's going to allow them to put the 2170 cells in the Model Y. Now, this isn't great news to hear, because what this means is the Giga Austin and Giga Berlin Model Ys are probably not going to have the 4680 cells at initial production. Now, for the longest time, we've been told that the 4680 cells would be coming to Berlin. Then Giga Austin caught up, and it's actually looking like it could potentially be open and producing cars before Giga Berlin, but it was also stated to only be making the 4680 cells. So with some recent news that we've seen out of Tesla, it appears that they are adapting their plans and making preparations for a little bit of a change from what they originally wanted to do with having 4680 cells in the Model Y at Giga Austin. That's also appearing to be the case for Giga Berlin, but again, nothing is final. This is just what's most likely. So what this would mean is that we're going to see production Model Ys coming out of Giga Austin towards the end of the year. Those cars are not going to have the 4680 cells at initial launch. Of course, this is bad news for those of you who are waiting and still are going to have to wait if you are indeed holding off for those 4680 cells. Those 4680 cells are going to change everything. There's a lot of unknowns about the 4680 cell other than what was communicated during battery day. The most important thing is we don't know what size battery pack they're going to put in the Model Y with these new 4680 cells. Of course, the 4680 cells are going to bring tremendous improvement in range. These packs are going to have more energy density than the current 2170 platform that they have today. The current chemistry of the 2170 cells is NCA here in North America. That NCA chemistry is what gives Tesla the range that they get for the size of packs that they use. What you'll notice is a lot of other manufacturers have much larger battery packs and get comparable or less range than a Tesla. And the reason is they're using NMC chemistry in their batteries. So it's slightly less density, but in addition, there's efficiency components involved with the motors and how the car operates that Tesla has quite a head start on. So we would anticipate to see those numbers get better, even with NMC being the chemistry that other manufacturers are using. So NCA has the edge today for being more dense than what else is out there. However, those 4680 cells are going to bring a completely new chemistry to the automotive world. These cells are going to change the game. We're going to have 50% improvement in battery density. We're going to have a lighter car because of the casted front, casted rear, and the structural battery pack, and presumably probably a smaller battery pack. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. But the point is, we don't know yet how much capacity they're going to put in the structural pack when the 4680 does deliver. Tesla has two options here, and I think one of them is most likely, but they could either install an 82 kilowatt hour battery pack with the new 4680 cells when they do launch, and it's going to have a tremendous improvement in range. It's probably going to be around 400 miles of range, which is huge. However, with the Model S and Model X still being around that 400 mark, 360 in the Model X, that would not make a lot of sense because they're charging a substantial premium. The S and the X are also going to need to have that range benefit over the 3 and Y in order to justify such a steep increase in price. But I could be completely wrong, and Tesla could say, we will give you more range in our cheaper models. It just doesn't make sense that way. What I think is more likely is when the 4680 cell does come online, they're going to shrink the size of the pack. And by doing so, they're going to keep range roughly where it's at. They may give an improvement, maybe closer to 350 miles on a long range all-wheel drive Model Y, and maybe get you closer to 375 or so in the Model 3. So that's really good. If they do give you 350 in a Model Y and 375 in a Model 3, those are substantial numbers, and that kind of range is great. That chemistry is also going to perform much better in weather conditions on the outside. So colder weather and hotter weather, those battery cells are going to be able to perform much more efficiently in the extreme temperature ranges. You're also going to be able to charge much faster rate in those new 4680 cells. So there's a lot of benefits that are going to come with this, and to top it all off, it's also cheaper. So you're going to have a cheaper construction of the car, you're going to have a cheaper battery pack, you're going to be able to put a smaller battery pack in the car and retain at least the same range, if not more. So this all points to better profit margins, likely a better price at some point, and more range, all with that new battery coming online very soon. So that's what I think Tesla's going to do. If you look at what they're doing right now, they are constrained in the supply chain. There's supply chain constraints everywhere you look. It's not just automotive. But one of the things that was kind of surprising and came out of nowhere, just last week, Tesla launched a Model 3 with LFP batteries in it here in the United States. The only way to get your hands on this is to find one in existing inventory, at least for now. There's a lot of discussion on if this could turn into a long-term option or not, but the one thing we do know is NCA is constrained. LFP has a much more robust supply chain in place, and therefore there's more supply out there. So they're supplementing those shortages in the supply chain with LFP here in the United States for the Standard Range Plus Model 3. Of course, we ordered one of those LFP Model 3s just last week, so we'll be taking advantage of some of those benefits you get with LFP. Of course, it has some limitations as well. It's not as dense, requires more battery cells to be able to retain more range than its NCA counterpart. But what we're seeing is this is going to help supplement the supply chain. So if they're constrained now and they don't have full volume production of the 4680 cells yet, that would definitely point to the fact that Tesla is very likely to launch the Giga Austin Model Y without those new 4680 battery cells. Of course, time will tell, and we won't know exactly when those 4680 cells are coming, but I would not anticipate those to come until sometime in 2022. Of course, the Cybertruck is delayed as well, which is no surprise, especially if we're talking about potentially not having enough volume of 4680 cells to be able to produce the Model Y, which goes online first. Then it would be obvious that the Cybertruck is also going to have some delays. Tesla did update their website. Production now states it starts in 2022, which is unfortunate. But I think that based on how things are going in all industries, it was no surprise that this was coming. So there you have it. Our first look at the Giga Austin Model Y is officially out there with leaked photos. It's really exciting to see the progress being made at Giga Austin. It's so much fun to watch because they are making tremendous progress at this point. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Are you still waiting on a Giga Austin Model Y to place your order? I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, of course, give it the thumbs up. If you haven't already, of course, subscribe to the channel as we continue to post content regularly. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Bearded Tesla. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.